Hey everyone, Michael and Peter here with GoodEreader.com, and today we're going to talk to you about notable e-readers that came out in 2017.
Yeah,
some of the
features in 2017.
Notable devices, notable events in the e-reader industry. We're just going to kind of give you a lowdown on everything that's happened in 2017 and give you a sense of trends and emerging things that are going to be happening in 2018 because we live and breathe e-readers here, and I think that we're in a prime position to talk about things because we literally review everything that comes to the market, just not North America, like Kindles and Nooks and Kobos and things like that, but Chinese e-readers that are coming out of Europe, all over the world. So we're aficionados and we really like to read. So, I guess let's talk about some of the more notable trends that have happened this year. Let's talk about Kobo first. Kobo purchased the Tolino assets from Deutsche Telekom.
Yes.
So the Tolino Epos was the first product that Kobo actually designed.
Yeah.
And the box that the Epos came in is very similar to...
It's almost identical
to the Kobo Aura 1.
Yeah.
So
they did this whole slide out thing where they had a little bit of the box revealing itself, and then when we saw that, we were like, wait a second, this is very Kobo-esque, and then it was immediately apparent to us.
Yeah, so what Kobo said is now that they pretty well have a controlling interest in Tolino, that they're not going to sell Kobo e-readers in Germany anymore because they don't want to cannibalize their own brand. Kobo actually opened up a subscription-based audiobook store in the US, the UK, Australia, and a few other countries. In 2018, they're going to open up more markets. So it's a subscription-based. You get a certain number of credits per month. You can pay more to get more credits, but you could also purchase audiobooks individually at just retail price. Right now, it's only available in the app for Android and iOS, but I heard that Kobo is going to borrow a page of the Kindle's playbook and actually have like an audiobook player and an audiobook store right on an e-reader, which will be a good thing.
Yeah.
Kobo also released the Aura 1 limited edition with 32 gigs of space and a new rapid page turn engine.
Kind of a cheap move because the rapid page turn system is like not that quick. We saw in the manga model that almost came out this year, was 2016 at the end of the year, the Kindle manga model, 32 gigs. It went through the book like crazy fast. This one did not go through as fast as it actually advertised, enhanced page turn speed, and adding a little bit of storage and then racking up the price to $279 was kind of a cheap move, but it is like having storage is really important because a lot of e-readers are doing away with SD cards. Yeah. Almost none of them have it anymore, so having your built-in storage is pretty much everything. Yeah,
totally. Getting away, talking about other companies now, Bokeen secured an arrangement with Carrefour and is selling a Olam e-reader. So this is an e-reader that they're marketing in conjunction with them in hundreds of retail locations in France.
I don't have any Nolams on the table.
Yeah. Large screen e-readers are now the norm.
Here's one.
There was a time when the Sony digital paper was the only large screen e-reader on the market.
Yeah.
We came out with our own, and then within like 6 or 7 months, like Onyx, The Remarkable, Icarus released.
Even Icarus announced their 13.3, that's right.
Yeah, so the market has been like flooded with 13.3 inch e-readers.
If you guys are unsure as to what we mean by 13.3, this is a conventional e-reader. This is Kindle Oasis. That's the size of the screen. This is a 13.3 right here, so you can see massive, and that's the trend right now, is larger screen e-readers.
Yeah, and they're just not built towards reading ebooks and PDF files, which they do a phenomenal job of, but digital note-taking, being able to install Android apps and having like enough screen real estate to actually like use the apps. 6-point-inch e-readers are good for just reading ebooks, but if you want to do like a lot more of other things, you need a little bit more bigger screen to do it.
Look at that.
It appeals to just different users, business users, architects, designers, students.
Musicians. I mean, there's things now that in a snap you can put like music bars and then just start, drawn little notes, and then like, oh my god, there you go. And then the Guido, we met with those guys this year.
Yeah.
The 2017
dual screen 13.3.
The dual screen $1,400 made in Japan double wide music sheet editor, and that was
it's basically two 13.3 inch
glued
screens
together,
held together by a hinge.
Yeah.
So they're massive, but
Yeah.
I mean it's designed just for musicians.
Yeah, they had like a foot pedal accessory that you could buy for another couple $100 or whatever. That didn't come with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for pianists that want to control the page turn screen. They had like infrared on the side, so to turn the pages you never even had to press buttons. You just go like this and it would turn a page.
It was cool.
It has cool
really
features.
Cool. Yeah.
But it's too expensive and poor availability and little to no marketing, and I think really hampered them. Yeah. Barnes & Noble released their first e-reader in many years.
Yes,
the
right here.
Glow Light 3.
There it is.
This e-reader had a rapid page turn engine that was better advanced than the Kobo.
Yes.
It had a new glow light system that muted the bright blue light and turned it to various degrees of like orange.
Yeah, let's get that going here. The night mode. Yeah. So this is kind of a whole nother can of worms. The smart lighting or warm lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, Barnes & Noble's doing it. Kobo's doing it as an extension. Tolino's doing it because they've acquired Tolino. Everyone who's actually not doing it is Amazon.
Yeah.
Which we were like, when we saw all this warm lighting, which is basically like this orange candle lighting versus really cool like this, I was surprised Amazon didn't kind of jump on the boat with that, but Barnes & Noble did, and they haven't made hardware in
sort
forever.
of that warm comfort light has been like one of the big trends of 2017. I think it'll continue going forward. More companies will start embracing it.
Here's a Kobo Aura 1 right there using the warm lighting as well.
So it's relatively about the same, but they're different approaches.
That's what we're talking about right there. If you haven't seen any of our other videos, like you might be wondering, wow, it's orange. That's exactly why. It's easier on the eyes.
Yeah. But there's a slider bar, so it can be like less orange to like a little bit more muted and things like that. So you do have like different options. We just turned it to the max so you guys can actually see from way over there. Oasis 2 came out in 2017.
Yes.
It was the second generation Oasis. It didn't have a built-in case like the first.
Hold on to that one because we actually got both. So the thing about the Oasis 1 was that the case came off, and this had almost no battery life in it in itself.
Yeah.
All of the milliamperage was in the case that you had to use with the device. They got rid of it in the second one, and they increased the screen size.
So the big selling point behind the Oasis 2 is something that's not in any marketing material. No one has mentioned it. It's the first e-reader using an IMX7 dual-core Freescale processor. That was first announced in 2016, but no e-readers have employed it until now. Going forward, we've talked to various OEMs such as like Nektronics. They said by about May to June they'll start having e-readers available for people to purchase from them that actually have IMX7. They're basically doing it in-house, and by proxy we've talked to Foxconn, who Amazon deals with. Yes, they're going to be doing it in them, and other companies based out of like Europe and China that do white label solutions for like Bokeen and Pocketbook and all those companies. They have said that by about mid 2018 that they will have white label solutions. So you're going to notice a lot of brands flooding the market now with IMX7. But the big thing about the Oasis 2 is the audiobook player. First e-reader to market, like that actually has the full audiobook experience, as well as a deadly audiobook app. And then due to the success of that, Amazon pushed out a firmware update to the original Oasis and the Kindle Basic to also have audio. And how do you listen to audio? Well, there's no 3.5mm headphone jack or anything, but these have Bluetooth, wireless speakers,
and the dongle that they sell on Amazon.com only. There's a separate dongle that goes from the USB to a 3.5mm headphone jack. You can plug something into there from there. So Pocketbook released a bunch of new devices this year. The Aqua,
the
Touch HD 2,
and the Touch HD 1 that they both released this year.
27. That's right.
The only thing with, I guess, the second Pocketbook has Touch HD was the smart lighting.
And they got rid of one font. I don't know if it was right on the box. It was the first gen was 17 fonts. The 18 fonts. Then they dropped a font to 17. I don't know if it was causing some fault in the hardware, but that was really weird, and everyone was like, why?
Yeah. Pocketbook is also making a big retail push into Asia. They're securing a lot of like partnerships to sell their e-readers in stores, because not a lot of companies are like going into Indonesia and the Philippines, and a lot of markets are right around that area. So Pocketbook's like hitting it hard because they want to expand more east as opposed to expanding west. Let's talk about some other things. E-Ink demoed a new dual-screen foldable e-reader at SID Display Week this year. It is similar to the Guido, but it's smaller and it opens and closes like a real book. It's a prototype, but I heard that it'll start going into mass production in 2018.
You know, those things are really complex, and that is what we've seen with the Guido. For example, if you look at the Sony DPT S1, the RP1, the Onyx Books Max, once they're done with all the initial release, the price comes way down.
Yeah.
But the Guido was like, it started out at like $1,500. And there's just, those things are so complex with the hinges and the flat cables that need to go in between the two screens. There's just so much cost there.
Well,
and I know you say it's smaller, but I'm just worried that it's just going to be so unattainable.
Well, remember the Entourage Edge and the Pocket Edge.
We have one in the storage room.
We reviewed the Pocket Edge, but they actually had a bigger version called the Entourage Edge. E-Ink on one side, LCD on like another, full Android, and then like, you know,
note-taking capabilities.
It was way ahead of its time.
It was.
But I think that given the advancements of processing power, E-Ink Carta, you know, I think that was using like Pearl, so it was super unresponsive. So a lot of e-readers I think were ahead of its time. Colored e-paper was ahead of its time.
Yeah, when was that?
Like
that was
2013. Was
E-Ink
Triton 2 in 2013.
Yeah.
2011 was Triton 1.
We saw that in Vegas or something, and then every year that goes by, we're always like, oh, this is the year for color e-ink, and nothing ever happens for the past 6 years. It's like no advancements in that field.
Well, there are some advancements.
I saw you wrote on that.
Yeah, let's talk about some of them. So they only displayed 4,000 colors, and it looked really washed out. And when Color e-paper was out, it was like E-Ink Pearl. Processing powers weren't where they're at. Internal storage, price components weren't there. It didn't have a lot of memory.
What did we see it on? That was the JetBook color, right?
The Attacker JetBook color, the Hanvon color.
That was the one. That was the one we saw.
And then there was like other companies that did like Miracell. They tried to make a push into the Color e-paper space. And they had like 2 or 3 different partnerships, but we reviewed the Kyobo out of South Korea that were sold at the bookstore chain.
Yes, I remember that one. That one wasn't really Color e-ink, but it was using Miracell screen, right?
Right. It's sort of like Liquivista. It was sort of like, it wasn't exactly e-paper, but the premise was like super long battery life, like unlike a traditional
I remember
LCD.
You could turn that brightness almost all the way down, and the reflectivity of just everything worked so well that you didn't really even need the brightness most of the time. So 2 color advancements that we may see in 2018. E-Ink announced at SID Display Week a few years ago ACAP, which stands for Advanced Color e-paper. It features a high quality full color reflective display. Could produce full color at every pixel without the use of a color filter array, which Triton had. It's supposed to show 32,000 different colors. So Triton was 4,000 at like like hexagons and like things like that. This is full color array. You're pretty well gonna see 2500 by 1600 at 150 ppi at the gate. And at first, this tech was made for digital signage for like large screens, bus stops, subway guides, at art galleries, things like that. But E-Ink told me that they are experimenting with getting it integrated with EPD displays, E-Ink Regal, waveforms, and things like that. And they said that we might see that in 2018 because they're devoting internal resources to do it. One of the beneficiaries of this is a relationship that E-Ink did with Japan Displays for a 600 ppi E-Ink screen. So we might see, 300 ppi right now is the norm for e-readers, but 600 ppi is taking it up like a level, but it's better for larger screen displays to have that super high ppi, especially color as well. I mean, even the Onyx What is this one? This is the one we just got, the Onyx Books Max 2, the 3rd gen. That one's only 207 PPI.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
But we did notice on PDFs that the clarity wasn't there.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, you'll check out our comparison video between the 3rd gen and the 2nd gen. We just wrapped that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Clear Ink is a new company that you guys should be aware of. They displayed stuff at SID in 2017. You know, they have prototypes that do video versions where they could actually play video in e-paper format. Mass production is scheduled for 2018 that they told me. Customers have already paid licensing fees, so they already have like companies that committed themselves to releasing e-readers using Clear Ink. And so they said that about mid 2018 we're going to start seeing it. I'm not going to read off all the specs about it, but there'll be a link in this description where you can find out more about Clear Ink. In terms of like other trends, many e-readers have removed the default full page refresh system from every 6 pages to every chapter.
Oh yeah. I've noticed that started to become a selection on your text settings when you are reading.
Almost all new e-readers that came out in 2017 have that. They're defaulted to every chapter instead of every 6 pages. I think that helps with like reading immersion. I really hate with e-readers when it does the full page refresh because it breaks immersion, because I'm used to grew up with paper books, man.
Right.
Like I have like 6 bookshelves at home. I have all sort I read more physical books than ebooks, but at the same time I read a lot of ebooks. I just read a lot in general.
Right.
But I found that the full page refresh system really hampered me, and it took a long time to get around that because books just don't do that.
Right. Well, when e-readers first came out, every time you changed the page, they were all staining.
Yeah.
Like
ghosting or full page refresh every
terrible,
page.
But now, like, you can go through you can go through most books on a standard, anything made after say 2014, 2015, and you'll see little to no staining, especially by the big boys, Nook, Kobo, Amazon. Anybody by there, you don't really, it's not really much of a concern anymore.
So okay, so let's talk about some talking points here. Android on e-readers. One of the big trends in the last few years have been a lot of companies doing like Android, like vanilla experience, Icarus, like Artitech, even us with Good e-Reader, a lot of companies have embraced Android. Onyx Books is like that. They embraced Android. Some of them are running 4.4. The new Onyx products are running Android 0.6. Older Onyx e-readers are getting like updated versions of Android pushed out. But in all, what are your thoughts about e-readers and Android right now?
I like Android. I'm an Android user. I have tablets. I got an Android smartphone. I like Android, but honestly, every time I see Android come out on an e-reader, it always just shows me that e-ink isn't there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have as many cores as you can throw at it, and you're always going to find compatibility issues. And that's because Android apps are in the millions of... There's millions of Android apps, and for every Android app there's 5 or 15 different versions of that same app. There'll be a million PDF readers, there'll be a million calculators, there'll be a million note takers and calendars, and it's always going to be like, oh, this version isn't supported, your screen size isn't supported, you don't have a microphone installed, so I'm not going to let you install it. There's so many compatibility issues when you allow people to be able to sideload in their APKs and use a file explorer to install them. I mean, I love Android, but that's just what I found on almost every device.
Yeah,
every one of them.
Like I think we legit reviewed every Android e-reader on the market.
Pretty much.
That's ever come out. Yeah, I mean, dozens. I mean, you just have to scroll back in our YouTube channel. I mean, you could look at them all. So we could speak with a position of authority. For me, I have Android devices. I have Apple devices. But I find with Android on e-readers, just the tech isn't there yet to get a fluid experience. Like, let's take a look at the most popular e-reading apps. Probably Kindle, Kobo, Moon Plus Reader, FB Reader, Cool Reader. All of those were designed for like fully featured phones and tablets. Animated page turns, looking really pretty. Being able to change the background from like a white background to like a old book paper background stuff. with an e-reader, you can display colors. They don't handle animations and page turns very well. So when you use the Kindle app for an e-paper display, it's like turn page, glitch, glitch, glitch.
Because it's trying to do everything like an octa-core phone is doing.
That's
it's trying to do all of that on something that is like a core or less.
And companies that are making these apps, indie developers, they're not going to make an optimized e-ink version because how many, you got to think about it, like who are the companies releasing Android e-readers? It's like Artitech. Nobody knows about them.
Yeah, Icarus.
Exactly. A handful of people in the hardcore e-reader community. It's like hardcore users that have an Android e-reader are like a small segment of the population who like who read on our iPad and use iBooks, or have a Kindle and buy books directly from Amazon. All those e-readers, like, you know, the Nook is using Android, but it's using a heavily skinned version. You would never know it's using Android, but it is. Same with the Sony digital paper e-reader. You would never know it's running Android because they're using a custom skin version of it. You can install your own apps. They're basically controlling the fluidity of the entire experience. I think that that's Android for e-readers. That's the benefit. Having Google Play, having app stores and stuff on it, all the apps you download, it's a shot in the dark. There's nobody making comprehensive lists of apps that are compatible with e-ink.
There's too many.
Exactly.
It's too big of a job.
Yeah, so
to say these work and these don't.
So vanilla Android on an e-reader, it's not there yet. And it's trial and error, and people get frustrated. Android with a heavily skinned experience, beneficial, but with a lot of companies I've talked to that have been doing vanilla Android e-readers, they've told me that they're thinking of either switching to Linux or doing what, like, you know, Nook and Sony has done, where it's like they do a heavily skinned thing. They have like a few apps that they've tested internally that work on an e-paper, but they're not going to have Google Play, they're not going to have app stores, they're not going to have ways to like sideload that type of stuff in, because it's a mess. We're not going to get there until we get like everyone's making Freescale dual core processors. They're putting like 4 gigs of RAM in it. They're, you know what I mean? Like clear ink becomes a thing. Color e-paper becomes a thing. Because like, what's the point of a large screen e-reader that doesn't do color, where you can't read manga, you can't read full color PDF files and things like that? So I mean, just Android is a long way to go. It's not there yet.
Vanilla Android.
Yes. And I haven't been a fan of Android like in general for just like a very long time. So, what do you think about other companies adopting like audiobooks and podcasts in their ears? Because if anything's told us that the Kindle Oasis, the second generation one, popular as hell. A lot of people are buying it. A lot of people who've dealt with Audible's been one of the longest players like in the game for like audiobooks, like forever, you know what I mean? So do you see like Kobo making an e-reader with like the Kobo audiobook store? Do you see like audiobooks.com or like you know, Playster making relationships with smaller e-reader companies to get their audiobook system in there? Like
audio isn't that much of an issue on e-readers. You obviously have to think of two things, either external and internal audio. The ability to either have a headphone jack or a speaker on it. For example, the Onyx Books Max has both. It has a speaker on the back and a headphone. You don't have to worry about it. But Amazon doesn't have any audio since the Kindle Touch back in 2011.
No, speakers, that is.
Speakers, sorry, yeah. Speakers on the hardware. So what they've had to resort to is making separate things. So dongles, inputting Bluetooth chips into their devices and give you the accessibility to connect them to different things like your Beats headphones, portable speakers, stuff like that. So all of those things aren't really that hard to do. So I can't see any reason that their next production line of a Kobo would have a Bluetooth chip in it to connect to other devices. It's hard to say if they're going to go back to the whole dual speakers on an e-reader thing. It doesn't seem to be that much of a market for it, but if audiobooks take off in the way that they're going to be in the future, you might see some of the big boys putting speakers back on the devices.
I mean, we're getting trained these days with like wireless things. I mean, you can buy like good wireless speakers for like $29 on Amazon.
Yeah, and they sound good too. They're good.
I believe, was it the new Google Pixel phones removed like the 3.5mm headphone jack and only have like Bluetooth now for audio?
I think either the Plus or the XL or the bigger one or the smaller one did. I'm not too sure. But
iPhones did away with audio with the 7.
Yeah.
So 7 and 8 have like no headphone jacks. So it's almost like we're being trained as like a society to get away from like wired headphones and go to like Bluetooth, because a pair of good Bluetooth headphones is not only just compatible with my iPhone, it's compatible with like Peter's like Android phones, with the Amazon like the Oasis 2, but Pocketbook's done 3.5mm headphone jacks for years.
Yes.
When they haven't done that, they've actually included an audio dongle in it. A lot of brands have had audio, but when you launch their audio player, there's no music. They don't have a podcasting app preloaded on it. They don't have an audiobook app loaded on it. And a lot of these brands don't have their own digital bookstore either. No. So it's like they rely, you buy the hardware, that's where they make their money, but e-reader margins are like super slow. Right. They don't have any bookstore to generate recurring revenue. Right. They don't have any podcasting system to generate revenue. They don't have an audio bookstore to generate revenue. So it's like all these companies are like losing out on so much money making opportunities, which is why like a lot of people have never heard of them before. But I really think that the market's wide open for RB Digital that bought audiobooks.com. Everyone from like Playster, TuneIn used to do audiobooks, but they're getting out of the space. Right. But Overdrive licenses out their audiobook catalog to anyone that can afford it. There's a lot of other like companies that white label that sort of thing. I believe that a lot of these e-reader companies are missing out on a golden opportunity to have digital books sold to the customer, to have audiobooks and access to podcasts sold to customers, because a lot of these e-readers that people buy, they're content black holes. They don't even come with preloaded books. It's like it's blank. You and your average user like, oh, okay, where do I get books from? Hey, there's no bookstore. Let's load the music player. Hey, there's no music. Yeah. Where's the help file that teaches me how to sideload books? There's none.
That's why Amazon is so successful. You buy the piece of hardware, which is even then sometimes cheaper than other people's hardware, and then you stay within Amazon.
Yeah.
You buy from Amazon, you shop with Amazon, you subscribe to Amazon. So even though they only made, 1% on the hardware or whatever, they're making consistent money on all your subscriptions, your rebills, your content that you're buying from them.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Tolino before the whole Kobo merger, the hardware was more than everyone else. And then you don't have anywhere to really go, especially if you have Pocketbook or a SciBook or something, because you can't get the content unless you sideload it on a computer, drag and drop it, and they're not making money on that.
And there's only a certain segment of users that will buy an e-reader that's like at the price the same as a Kindle, but they'll see it retail, they'll just like buy it on impulse, and it's like they have no idea how to like sideload,
exactly.
They have no idea how to do anything. And I think that there's a golden opportunity for like digital bookstores to start partnering up with like these like lower brand e-readers to actually have bookstore loaded on their audiobooks, like whatever, just content, because something is better than nothing. Even if it's just like Project Gutenberg like preloaded on there where you can download,
it's just a link.
Yeah, exactly, just something like bookmarks, like in the web browser there's no bookmarks, like so that's one of the things that are really holding back like e-readers from mass market like production. And that's why like Nook, Kobo, and Amazon and iBooks are pretty well the global players in selling hardware and selling content.
Yep.
Everyone else like isn't even on the list. Like,
it's true.
I would be surprised if like say Onyx, as good as this like Max Pro is, I bet they don't sell more than 10,000 of them.
Yeah, and then they have no store on here for anything.
Yeah.
In wrapping up, Mike, what is your favorite e-reader of 2017? That's what we were talking about before, and you never gave me your answer. So,
so I have two, large and small screen.
I didn't think about that.
I believe that the Kindle Oasis 2 probably is the best e-reader. Pretty well, just because of everything I mentioned.
But it is expensive for Canadians. This thing was after tax and import on Amazon.ca like $460. justify that. No, I'm kidding. I agree.
It was hella expensive, man.
Expensive though.
And they're remarkable. I really liked it.
Oh, it's over there. I'm not gonna go get it.
So
that was good too. Yeah.
The remarkable digital note-taking device, like capacitive touchscreen display, compatible with the stylus. It had like the best note-taking functionality out of like Sony, Onyx, anything like that. It just felt like using Photoshop.
Yeah.
And unlike the Sony and Onyx, it had different degrees of pressure sensitivity. The harder that you press, the thicker the lines went. And they had interchangeable nibs, so it went from like a pencil nib to like a pen nib. So you can go for like, you know, like writing like a pencil to developing and drawing with like a pen. So I kind of found that for all those things, I like those two e-readers the most in 2017.
Okay, I didn't even think about a large screen one because I didn't think that's what we were doing. But I'm going to piggyback off of yours and say I like the Remarkable as well, because I was thinking when you said that the Sony DPT RP1 was great, but it was so limited. It didn't have pressure sensitivity. All it did was PDFs. All you do, there's no home screen.
Yeah.
You put things on the Sony DPT RP1, it's a list of PDFs.
You can't even, there's no even way to update the firmware.
No, there's no books. That you can't even use Wi-Fi on it without a computer to use the Sony Digital Studio or whatever it was called to search for a Wi-Fi signal. You couldn't even take that to Starbucks and sign into Starbucks without your laptop. I'm going to say, the Remarkable, if we're talking big screen, that's the way to go. I personally like the Kobo Aura 32 gig. It's the limited edition, is because what I said earlier, most people are getting rid of SD cards. Amazon doesn't have them, Barnes & Noble doesn't have them, Kobo doesn't have them. No one has SD cards anymore. So you have to start from a large internal storage if that's the way you want to go.
Yeah.
I also like how the quick page turn works on everything on the Kobo Aura limited edition, whereas the manga model only did it on manga. This will work on PDFs, newspapers, manga, comic
anything
books,
you load, anything you buy from Kobo, or anything you sideload.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like this also because it's larger than the Kindle Oasis, and for Canadians, it's about 40% less money. It's only $279, whereas out the door, the Kindle Oasis 2 was really expensive. It was like $460. And the Kindle Oasis 2, I'm sorry, but they have that stupid gyroscope that you can't turn off, and it keeps flipping the damn page every time you go past zero. You know what I mean? Zero axis. Just don't got that. But yeah, I'm gonna say for me it's the Aura 32.
All right. So you've heard our thoughts on things that have transpired in 2017 and some of the trends that will occur in 2018. Audio, color e-paper. You know, the elimination of vanilla Android is a real distinct possibility. Freescale IMX7 is possible. Is not possible. It's going to be in more devices going forward. So I used to complain that the e-reader stagnation in the innovation department. There was like a time where e-Encarta was released like 2014, and Frontlight Displays about a year later. So for like a good 2 or 3 years, there was nothing happening in the e-reader space. It was just like a holding pattern. And then suddenly 2017 arrived, and warm light, audiobook functionality, better processors, more RAM than ever in these devices, quad-core processors in e-readers. I mean, it's becoming a beautiful thing, and I really hope that this innovation doesn't slow down, because e-readers, there's really no published information anywhere, but I think that 2017 was a banner year for e-reader sales across the board.
A lot happened.
Yeah, so you've heard our thoughts. Let's hear yours. What is your favorite e-readers of 2017? Where do you think the industry is going in 2018? Are we off base saying color e-paper will be a thing, and the elimination of Android will be a thing? Will Google Fuchsia ever come to e-readers? It's the unification of Chrome and Android in a singular OS. Apple is merging pretty well iOS and Mac, so you can create one app that will be on both. And I've even heard another rumor that Apple is doing away with the Mac App Store, and they're going to have an iOS App Store and just have universal apps populating that ecosystem. So there's a lot happening in the operating space, and e-readers usually emulate what's happening in the mobile operating space. So
as best they can.
Yeah, so drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about our roundtable discussion today. For GoodEreader.com, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.